happens there. But millions of Brits could be faced with working longer after it was claimed the retirement age could rise to 70. So the Institute for Fiscal Studies revealed the state pension age could increase by 4 years as the government grapples to get a grip of public finances. Do you think this is right? Do you think this is fair? Should we just accept this? Or should we be more like the French and kick off about it? Joining me now is Conservative councillor, a member of Young Voices UK, it's Noah Khogali, and former Minister of State for Europe and Labour MP, it's Denis MacShane. Right, great stuff. Thank you very much, both of you. Denis, I will start with you. Do you think we should be more like the French, get out in the streets and say, no, I will not have any of this stuff, I will not be working until I'm 70 to get a state pension?
It doesn't work for the French. They've just lost. Believe me, Patrick, I used to do serious strikes in the 1970s for journalists. I took the BBC off air, watched it in the 1980s, Arthur Scargill, Wapping. Scenes we've seen here today, we saw that in striking picket lines. The moment you turn violent in strikes, you have lost. Now, if the government really is saying to the British people, you worked your rocks off for this country since the age of 18 maybe, or 20, or even 16, 17, as in the old days, and you're going to have to work another 4 or 5 years, get on your Zimmer frames, just because we're running the economy so badly, because no other country's doing this, then I think the government will have a lot of difficulty winning any more elections. But going into the streets, getting violent, no.
OK, Noah, are you going to take to the streets?
No, I don't. And I think the reality is, when you speak to most people my age, that we've kind of all consigned ourselves to the fact that we're unlikely to ever retire. And, you know, because of the fact that we've ended up propping up, essentially, people that are older than us for so much of our working life already, as much as that has happened, that's probably it for us. We're never going to overhome. We're never going to really retire. But, you know, at least pensioners now get it okay.
I suppose, Noah, if I could push back on that slightly, I would say that if you had anything about you, you could probably go and get a job where you could earn enough money and then you could retire early.
Which is fantastic for some people. But I think the reality is, I think some of the stats are suggesting that you would have to save 15% of what you're earning throughout your entire working life. But the reality is that probably means that you're not going to be able to own a house because we're just refusing to build houses. House prices keep going up. And then if you end up at retirement age without owning your own home, it makes it virtually impossible on a state pension to survive. So, you know, it's kind of this whirlpool of doom for people my age at the moment.
Oh, OK, all right. It's a bleak window into the future there, Noah. I do hope it brightens up for you at some point. But, Denis, I'll bring you back in. Look, we're all living longer, Denis. Look at you. You're the picture of health. No one would have thought that you were 120. All right, we're living longer, OK? And so we're going to have to work a bit longer, Denis.
We all are working far, far longer than we were in the past. Particularly women are in the labour market, many other people. We've had a lot of immigrants coming in. The government's opened the gates now to immigrate, mass immigration from Nigeria, India, Pakistan, to soak up the workers that went back home to Europe. So we've got, you know, that is a very real problem. I'm going to have to cut in here,
Denis, for a second. I never thought I'd hear you say this, Denis. I never thought I'd hear you say this. Are you telling me that maybe, if we didn't have so many people coming into this country and, dare I say it, occupying the lower echelons of society and maybe having to take some handouts, that we could all retire earlier?
Well, Patrick, the plain fact is you're a very smart guy, you're a university-educated guy. If we want people to do the jobs that you and I expect Noah aren't really ready to do, then we've got to find them from somewhere. Now, there are big problems all over the world. Populations are going down. Italy's got the lowest birth rate since 1867. The Japanese population, Chinese population is collapsing. The Indian population is going up. It's now the most populous country in the world and in many ways the poorest country in the world. So we just have endless problems. All I would say is, the strikes we've all had to put up with because of the ludicrous refusal of government ministers even to talk to unions in the last 6 months or nearly a year, there are more days lost through British strike action than through French strike action. We now have Steve Barclay won't even talk to the doctors.
Okay.
So people are losing now on hospital appointments.
Well, to be fair, I did hear, Denis, that Steve Barclay wanted to talk to the doctors, but he called up the receptionist and she told him that he wasn't available. But I'll throw it back to you, Noah, and just ask you, look, you've got a long time to plan ahead now, all right? You've got a long time to plan ahead. You know, you're hearing now on this show there's a very good chance that you're not going to be able to retire until you're 70. Does that not give you time to plan? Does that not give you time to start saving, do you think? Or maybe... You know, I don't know, again, you look like you're a fit and active lad. I don't think you're going to be in your Zimmer frame at the age of 70, and maybe you'll be all right, mate.
Yeah, no, I hope not. My grandfather is 93 or something, so I hope that the genetics are there. I think the reality is, though, is that we've got this concoction of slightly concerning news for people my age. And it might come down to the question of, are you going to properly save for your retirement, or are you going to save to buy a house? And even then, that doesn't solve the fundamental problem, which we kind of touched on a minute ago, that our population is going to be a serious issue moving forward. So the state spending on pensions by 2027 will be about £170 billion. And that could increase by another £100 billion by 2070. The reality is that if the tax base isn't there because the people aren't there, there's no way of paying that. So
do you genuinely feel
we just need to start having children?
Yeah, no. Do you feel as though you and your generation are propping up older people?
Yeah, I think, and I don't think that's really a point where anyone can argue. Something like the triple lock is a perfect example of that, and a really good example of why, although young people are getting involved in politics now, they actually need to start being a strong voter base, because at the moment it's in the interests of parties on both sides of the aisle.
Do you not think they deserve propping up, Noah? You know, do you not think they deserve propping up? Won a war for us. They've paid into the system all the time. This country's built off the backs of their labour. You know, you can work, they can't. I'm sure they still would want to. That's
going to be the argument, but I think the reality is that at some point that system is going to break, and at some point a government is going to have to turn around and going to say we're going to have to do the really hard thing here, but it is the right thing in the long term. At every turn, and I'm sure if we don't fix it when I'm that age, I'll turn around and go, oh, can you please prop us up for this one more generation? But the reality is we can't do that forever. And somebody at some point has to take a really strong stance and a strong decision, almost like Macron's doing, although that's not, he's not fixing the problem, but decide to put their own neck on the sword and really make a change here.
All right, Denis, look, final word to you on this. I was going to ask if you feel propped up by Noah, but I think I'll probably be a bit disrespectful, wouldn't it? What do you want to happen here, then? Do you think that, in light of anything else being on the table, we are just going to have to raise this pension age?
Possibly. I mean, the government was meant to raise it to 68 this year. I think they saw, the British government, that is, they saw what was happening in France and walked very fastly away from it.
But we won't do it.
Let's be very clear. We have the lowest state pensions in Europe. If you have only your state pension, you're then having to beg for universal credit. You saw the pictures there of old hands holding out pennies, food bags, people starving,
Dennis,
unable to heat
all you've got to do, Dennis,
that is our pension system.
All you've got to do, Dennis, OK, is go to Calais, get on a boat, come over, find yourself in Wales, and Welsh Labour will give you 1,600 quid a month plus legal aid, all right? So just do that. If you're listening out, Noah, do it, mate. I'm telling you, you'll be quizzed. Love both of you. Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Denis MacShane there, of course, who is a former Minister of State for Europe and a Labour MP and Conservative councillor and member of Young Voices UK. Noah Khogali. Right, OK.